Hi everyone, Davi here, and today we're going to go ahead and continue our exercise family series on very common Pilates exercises that are done on different pieces of equipment. Now, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, we are typically going on the progressions from easiest to most advanced variations of very commonly known exercises that are done in Pilates classes. Today we're going to go over the teaser specifically, and if you haven't heard of the teaser is a very traditional and classical abdominal exercise. It can be very challenging, and what's great about the teaser is that there are options in terms of ways we can use these different pieces of equipment to help assist or progress into a full teaser or the most advanced versions of the teaser. Now, a big part of the exercise family series is to show how different variations can have different purposes. Sometimes doing a variation on one piece of equipment might have a different effect than another piece of equipment might. Or a different challenge. So here we go. So we're going to go ahead and start on the tower, and we're going to use the pull-through bar with a little bit of assist using the blue springs. Now, before somebody goes into the full-blown teaser, which we'll demonstrate later on in the video, is the ability to actually do a full sit-up. And one way we can do that and practice getting the strength there is by doing it on the tower, trapeze table, or the Cadillac, as long as you have a push-through bar. So oftentimes what we'll have people start off with is 2 blue springs on the push-through bar, and that should help assist with the roll-up. The big concept here is tucking the chin, leading with the abdominals, and allowing that resistance to help you come up. Now, a full teaser is going to want you to come up to a full seated position here. Now, if you are struggling with this is a great place to start. It is still a good abdominal exercise. There are plenty of ways we can also challenge this. We can spring the springs from the bottom to help increase the more upper abdominal tension. But here is our first place that we would start. Now, the next option would be bringing the legs up into tabletop, coming into that teaser position, and then back down. Now let's say the client has felt pretty comfortable with this. We start with the legs up. This creates a longer moment arm, which creates more weight on the abdominals, making it more challenging. Into an actual teaser position. And from here, we can actually start incorporating the different variations of the teaser. We have teaser 1, which is thus just the abdominals coming up, the upper abdominals or the torso lift. Teaser 2, where we lower and lift the legs. And then teaser 3, where both the legs and the upper body come up. Now, obviously, we would progress to that variation of it, but mostly we would start with the feet down or in tabletop first. Now, the next option is called Corolla's breathing, and this has a whole sequence in it. This is typically done on a trapeze table or a Cadillac, where there are bars surrounding the table. But here, this is how we would maybe modify this on the tower. On the tower, you can substitute a short box, or you can use a physio ball or a fit ball, a giant ball, whatever have you. But for the piece of equipment that we have here, we're going to use the short box. Now, I won't concern myself as much with the breathing pattern here as I would with the form. So oftentimes, Corolla's breathing will start with a lift into a long bridge. So you're kind of offsetting that deep hip flexion here once we get into the full teaser. And then we roll it down, push the bar through, and then as the bar returns, we come up into our teaser. We roll it back down, lift the hips, roll down through the spine, and then push the bar up and through. And then we kind of use that momentum, that use of the bar and the legs coming up together to help accomplish that movement. Now, oftentimes on a trapeze table, we have a hanging bar that's coming up from the bars from the trapeze table or the Cadillac. Now, we don't have that here, but this is a good opportunity to help engage those deeper abdominals to help lift the legs as well. The distance is a lot less than it would be if you were doing this on the mat or without the short box. So that is kind of the modification we would have on the tower. I would typically introduce Corolla's breathing, that variation, for somebody who wants to obviously work the front and the back of the body, so the anterior and posterior chain. It's also really good to use in a class because you're additionally using both the agonist and antagonist sides of the body. You're using the abdominals and you're using an extension. So that's another reason why we might want to use Corolla's breathing. I would definitely introduce Corolla's breathing before I started with a straight leg roll down with using the push bar, what we started with. Now, the other unique thing about the tower trapeze table of the Cadillac is that there's an additional variation of the teaser that isn't typically done on the mat, the reformer, or the barrels. So we call that teaser 4, basically. And that's an oblique variation. Now, oftentimes you can start with the knees bent, but we're basically coming up into a teaser with the legs drifted off to one direction, really targeting the obliques here. Now, again, I wouldn't introduce the straight leg until after an individual has felt very comfortable or has perfected the Corolla's breathing variation. So our next variation would be done on the step barrel or the arc. Now, what's great about this is there's a little bit of a lip here that can kind of support the pelvis. And what's very beneficial about that is that it helps support those deep hip flexor muscles, like your psoas and your iliacus. And that can be a really challenging muscle to strengthen in this movement. And oftentimes people tend to compensate with those, and they can feel it oftentimes in their back when they're doing this exercise. So this is one way to hyper-focus on just the abdominals, taking that need for the deep hip flexion out of it, and also adding in an upper thoracic extension. So what I would say is we would lift our feet up into this tabletop here. We'd extend over the barrel and then come up into our teaser. Now, my body anatomy is not very great with this variation because my legs are much longer than my torso. So I'm going to start with a bent knee version here. And you can practice getting the leg strengthening as well. So getting that deep hip flexion and then also getting the quad strength to hold that position is also very important. Now you'll see a lot of ballerina dances that are very good at this, or people who do bar, because that deep hip flexion is a muscle that is strengthened very much in that type of sport. So this is the step barrel variation. It's very great for an addition in mat class. You can add this with a foam roller to kind of do a pseudo barrel version as well. But it is a little bit more challenging, obviously. It's challenging for myself, and I'm an instructor. So, but this is one variation that you could use. The next variation we would add in, and also a more advanced variation, would be teaser on the chair, on the floor. Now, what's difficult about this is you do have to keep that deep hip flexion strength, but also your core stability has to keep the torso upright as we pump the pedal. Now, this is more of an isometric challenge. So for somebody that wants an additional difficulty that maybe needs to have that deep core involvement, and not so much focusing on the hip flexion, this would be a great option as well. It's also very difficult. So for your advanced clients, this is a nice one to add in there because now we're adding a layer of instability with the arm pumps. And I'll show you what I mean here. Whew. It was a bad choice to work out before this. But now the other thing is you can rest the legs onto the edge of the chair to start, which is great for me because my legs are very long and my torso is very short. And this is one way that I can kind of accomplish strength in a different position to help accommodate this movement. So I would sit up tall. I feel this deep in my upper abdominals as I pump the pedal. Now let's say I want to balance. I want to work on my balance. I'm going to lift my legs up and also pump. So making sure you have plenty of padding. This little mat wasn't really great, but this is also a fantastic exercise. I don't see it super often, but for more advanced clients that can maintain good form and that upright posture, this is clearly something I can still work on, but it's another great option for those more advanced clients. Our next step in the teaser variations would be the mat variation. And what's most difficult about this is it's all body weight here. You have to maintain good technique and you have to maintain good form. Now, I'll be quite honest, this is something that I'm still working on. It's a very challenging exercise, but it's a great one to practice. And that's why we have all of these regressions or all of these other variations to help progress us to this variation of the teaser. Now, oftentimes instructors will start here and then we'll do a bent knee version. So we'll circle the arms, curl up into that teaser variation. That is one way that you can help Others regress so that they can get to that teaser position. But let's say we're ready for that full teaser. We're gonna keep the legs straight, curl up, and reach, and lower, and reach. Now, there's teaser 2. Ooh, oh man, my quads. And then obviously teaser 3 is where we're bringing both the arms and legs up. I did deep squats today for my workout, so I'm really feeling this. But so you can see, as we circle and reach, we're lifting, lifting, lifting up with that torso. Now, as you can see, my body anatomy makes it a little bit more challenging. So that's another thing to take into consideration when you're doing this with a client, how their body structure can really make a difference in this type of movement. Just the same thing as we would with squats. If you have somebody with a longer torso and shorter femurs, they're able to go down in a much more upright squat just based on the mechanics of their body. For somebody like me with a short torso and long legs, I rely a little bit more on my back strength, and I tend to have to lean forward a lot more, so my glutes work a little bit harder in a deep squat. So those are things that you need to think about as an instructor or as a teacher, that some exercises might need to be modified just based on somebody's anatomy or body structure. Now our next variation is done on the chair, and it is called the reverse swan. I also did this in our roll down variations for more advanced clients, just another opportunity to work on upper abdominal strength and control on the way down. What's great about this is we maintain a teaser position, and we're actually trusting the pedal and our abdominal strength to help lift us back into that teaser position. So that is one way we can also challenge the more advanced client by bringing the legs up into tabletop, finding our balance. We circle the arms around, find the pedal, and we press it back down. Making sure the client has plenty of mobility through the shoulders to accomplish this. And we'll start with the bent knee before we straighten the legs out. And that is reverse swan. All right, so our last variation is done on the reformer. And this one is a pretty challenging one, mostly because you're up on the long box and you kind of have to come up with resistance. So using the straps here, most people typically use a red spring. So one way people can transition here is using the breaststroke, starting here, reaching the arms and legs up, circling around, and then we come up into the 100 or the teaser position. And then this one can be a challenging one for me to balance, again, because of my anatomy. But typically we pump the arms here. So I'm gonna do this with a bent knee variation. Holding my abdominals in tight, trying to keep that deep core activation as I pump the arms. That is a reformer variation on the teaser. This is great for more advanced clients that need that additional instability, that additional need for control, as we're using these straps to come up into that teaser position. So there you have it. That is our exercise family of the teasers and all the different variations, why I, as an instructor, might choose some of these different options for the client or for a class. So if you like this content and you'd like to see more, or if you have any comments, just leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And I hope you like, save, share, tell your friends, follow, all the stuff, and I'll see you next one. Bye.